How is it going, guys? It's Kevin from SubiSpeed. Today we are going to be working on an employee's car. This is Woo's 2020 WRX Deem, the WOOBARU. Chances are, if you guys have emailed in, he has helped you out. He is one of our customer service reps, and today we're going to be installing a new suspension system on his car, specifically the HKS Hipermax S coilovers. Now, it's been a while since we've done a coilover install, so I'm going to walk you guys through that process. I'll leave all of the torque specs down in the description so you don't have to search through the whole video to find them. Before we get into the install, however, let's take a quick look at the new coilovers and see what they're all about. These are the Hipermax S coilovers that HKS has just recently released to replace the Hipermax 4 GTs, all new technology that they've been developing throughout the years. 30 levels of adjustable damping, new improved internals like the dual preload valve system, needle jet, bump stop, low friction technology, all to improve that ride quality. HKS has come out and said that this system has the best ride quality that they have, basically. It's 9K spring rate up front and 7K in the rear. They come set to lower the car about 3/4 of an inch in the front and about 1/2 an inch in the rear. But of course, these are adjustable, so you can adjust those as necessary. But all that being said, these are going to be a great option for those of you who are looking for a dual purpose coilover that's going to give you that ride quality or ride comfort for daily driving, but also give you the performance you need when you go to an autocross or a track day, which is exactly what Woo is planning to do with this car. So let's go ahead and get these installed and see how it ends up looking. Obviously, the first thing we're gonna need to do is take the wheels off. We're gonna be working on the front driver's side here. We need to unclip the cable from the strut, as well as remove the 12mm bolt that's holding the brake line in place. With those lines out of the way, we can remove the 2 lower strut mount bolts. He actually has an SPC camber bolt up top here, so that one's gonna be a little bit different, but I believe they should be 19mm nuts and bolts. For the SPC one here, this is an 18mm and I think a 15mm on the bolt side. With the strut released from the bottom side, we can come up into the engine bay. There's 3 12mm nuts that we'll need to remove, and that's gonna allow us to pull the strut out. Now, since I'm doing this by myself, I'm actually gonna leave one of the nuts loosely on there so that I can come back down, loosen it by hand, while I'm also holding onto the strut and pull it out without the strut just dropping down. Like I said, I still have one of those nuts loosely holding the strut in place. So I'm gonna pull the hub out of that strut, let that rest there, make sure none of the lines are caught. And then I'll reach up here to unscrew the nut that's left over, while I'm supporting the strut with my other hand. And then we can carefully guide it out to make sure it doesn't hit the fender or catch any cables. Now, usually once you have that strut out, you can start installing your new coilovers, but this kit actually comes with a new set of Endlinks as well, so we're gonna be installing those before we go any further. I'm gonna be using a pass-through ratchet here with a 17mm socket and a 6mm Allen key. got both of these 17mm nuts off of the Endlink, but there's a little bit of pressure holding it in place. So I'm gonna lower the car, put a jack underneath the lower control arm to get the pressure off, and that should allow us to pull the Endlink out. I'm gonna install the new Endlink on the lower control arm first. Also going to kind of maneuver the bolts so that gives me enough room to get it into the sway bar. We'll put the included washer and nut on the end here so it stays in place. Okay, now we just need to jack it up and get it into the hole of the sway bar. There we go. Once we get these tightened down, we can install the new coilovers. Now we can slide the new coilovers in just like we took the stock ones out. So I've got one of the nuts in my hand. Now I just gotta find the holes. There we go. Maybe. All right, and then just thread the nut on with the other hand. And then you can let go. Now you can toss the other two nuts on, and we're actually gonna leave these just hand tight for now until we get the lower strut bolts installed. We're gonna get the hub into place now. Again, I've got a jack underneath just in case I need to raise it, which it looks like I'm going to need to. So we're just gonna push this into the coilover and then raise it until the holes line up and we can slide the bolts in. So that's the bottom one. Now we've got the SBC camber bolt that we'll toss in. And we're going with minimal camber for now. So I need to line this camber bolt up like so. Make sure that doesn't move once we tighten this down. Reinstall the lines. Need to grab the bolt, the OEM bolt for the bracket for the brake line, and we'll get these torqued to spec and we should be good to go on the front. I've got the front all torqued down, so we're gonna work on the rear here, which is pretty self-explanatory. All of the bolts and nuts that we need to remove are on the lower control arm here, besides the one up top, of course. So we've got a 17mm nut and bolt that's holding the strut to the control arm, and then a 14mm for the Endlink. And then you can either remove this nut and bolt or this nut and bolt for the arm to drop down. I'm gonna be removing this one here. That's also 17mm. Also, before I forget, another thing I want to mention is for those of you with auto leveling headlights, on the driver's side, you're gonna have the sensor mounted up here and connected to the lower control arm. So make sure you disconnect that before you pull the lower control arm as well. Otherwise, you're gonna break that sensor. Now that we have all of those bolts out, we're gonna go up top into the trunk to release the two 14mm nuts that are holding the strut in place. Once that's out, we can come back down here, pull the lower control arm down, and get this off. Moving inside the trunk, you can see that I've removed the trunk lining here. Really simple to do, just some retaining clips, and that reveals these two 14mm nuts that we're gonna remove, and then we can go back down and take the strut out. Back underneath the car with all the bolts and nuts removed, we can pull the lower control arm down. And that's gonna pop the strut out as well. And we just need to get it released from the lower control arm. We're gonna use the same process we used for the front, so I'm gonna slide this into place. Then I've actually got the door open on the back. So I'm gonna hold this up with one arm and then reach through the opening in the door, and that's gonna allow me to thread the nut onto the new coilover. Back on the bottom, we're gonna install these spacers that are included so that it fits perfectly into the lower control arm. Might need to give it a few taps to line everything up. Hopefully I don't smash my finger on something. We'll get these bolts reinstalled and torqued down, and we should be good to go get in alignment. That pretty much wraps it up, guys. A really simple install, nothing too difficult at all. This car is now ready for an alignment. It looks a lot better than the stock ride height as well. Nothing too drastic, it's not slammed to the ground. It's a mild drop of, like I said, 3/4 of an inch in the front and 1/2 an inch in the rear, so it does get rid of some of that wheel gap and it looks substantially better. It also feels really good as well. I took this car out for a spin around the block once I got the coilovers installed, and I am thoroughly impressed. I'm not just saying that just to sell you guys this coilover. I went out and drove it, and it was really comfortable. It absorbed all the imperfections in the road. It wasn't too harsh. So these are gonna make for a really great daily driver. I'm excited to see how it translates to the track. Hopefully we can take this car to the track in a couple of weeks, and we'll do a more in-depth review then. But if you guys are interested in a set of these for yourself, the link is down in the description. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.